Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. So hope everyone's doing well. We've got an interesting discovery to share. So one of the things I do in addition to coding time trades and the day job is I really enjoy doing time and price research. So I was introduced to the topic of this by a couple of friends on Twitter, and I went down the rabbit hole of one of these ideas, and the result is what you see on the screen here for Bitcoin. It's these series of green and yellow boxes, and it's based on the moon, but that's all I'm going to share about it. But what's interesting about these green and yellow boxes, as well as the light blue lines, is how the patterns tend to identify themes. I mean, it's not really black and white, like buy here, sell here, but you scroll back in time, you can look at some of the themes here. I've done this manually for like the last, I don't know, 2 years or so in Bitcoin. And one of the themes that pop out is this blue line that's in the middle of the green boxes identifies really critical changes in trend most of the time. Okay, so here you can argue that was a change in trend, but it kind of had a delayed effect until later on in October 2019. Okay, but then that rally petered out and it ended really soft. So this was in the middle of the 2019 bear market. But then what are these purple boxes here? These tend to represent areas of consolidation before a major move. And the major moves tend to occur within the green boxes. I know you don't see that here, but certainly this green box is kind of an exception. In this case, the major move happened between purple and green, okay? And then with green, we had the COVID crash, which ended also right on the midline. I call it the midline. I know visually it's not in the middle, but that's not what it's anchored to. It's anchored to something else. So we've got this period of consolidation, okay? And then when that ends, typically a new trend begins in the following green box. Often it's like this over here. And if I zoom in on this, you can see in June 2020, we've got purple box, and then there's a bit of consolidation and basing, and then the real trend emerges in the green box time. And often there's a correction around the midline of the green box. Same thing here, except there was this pump entering into the green box, okay? And then that pump got corrected and more in the COVID crash. So again, it's not like black and white, buy here, sell here. You have to do some interpretation on this stuff, but the themes and the personalities of the different timeframes of price are really interesting and really useful, especially on kind of like an intermediate term time frame. We're talking, like multiple weeks. Okay, so let's look at some more examples here. We've got this correction / basing period in purple, and then it trundles sideways a little bit more, and then we start moving again in green with a correction in the middle, and that was September 2020. Okay, let's look at some more. Okay, now I've also got this line here that is after the end of the green box. And what happened recently, I'll go to the most recent example. So this is May of 2021, okay? So we've got our green box, we've got our massive pump that started in January, okay? Pump, hits a midline, still pumps, okay? And then there's a correction into the end of the green box, okay? And then we hit this blue line that's at the end of the green box. And In this case, it actually was a real warning for us of an impending crash that took price down from the high 50s into the low 30s, where it started basing again in the purple box. So I look at this blue line, even though it's not 100% correct all the time, I look at this blue line after the end of green as kind of like the warning line. This is, and I'm putting a little bit more weight onto this most recent example of what happened in May, as opposed to if we scroll back in time here, we can see in November 2020, this warning, well, wasn't really all that strong. We got a little bit of movement here, and then consolidation in the green box, and the pump started before, sorry, consolidation in the purple box, and then the pump started before the purple box even finished. By the way, you're looking at a 2-day chart. I wanted to get a little bit more price information on the screen so it was easier for you to see. So this is a 2-day chart you're looking at. So the November 2020 version of the warning blue line, you know, there wasn't much of a dump after that, just sort of like a regular kind of correction. And if we scroll back even more, the May 2020 version of the warning blue line, we got a minor correction heading into it, and then it reversed right on there. So it doesn't happen all the time, but I think its presence, you know, in May, and then we've got the purple box here that started the basing process, and then the pumps didn't start again until a few weeks into the next green box. Okay, and then we can see again the importance of the middle line in August 2021. Okay, after the basing period end, we went back into pump mode, and we went up to the midline, and then that kind of indicated the end that pump mode was over, and had a correction back to 41. And now we're back up here in the low 60s, and we're approaching this warning line. So this is why I sent out that tweet the other day. And I wanted to share this discovery, even though, to be honest, this is a really new discovery. I haven't fully wrapped my head around all of the implications here. I think it's important to share this kind of stuff and get it out there and hear what you think about this information. Because what I'm seeing right now is that, you know, when we zoom out a little bit at a high level, I'm not seeing the energy to create a new pump right now. It looks like if we kind of project past patterns onto where we are today, it looks like we need a small to medium-sized dump. Maybe it takes us down into the low 50s, maybe even lower. I don't know. Maybe it's just minor. But we need some combination of a dump of some size with some sideways basing and correction before we can re-enter pump mode starting in December. And I think in my tweet, I tweeted out December 29th as the start of the restart of pump mode. As I said, this is a new technique, and I'm playing around with the definition of these green boxes. The latest version of these green boxes has December 13th as the start. I think for for analysis purpose, anytime the second half of December, we can call it an opportunity to re-enter pump mode for Bitcoin. So I wanted to share this out with you guys. It may be a little premature. I know for a fact that I have not wrapped my head around all of the various ways to interpret all this. And we're only going off of like a 2.5 years worth of price data. So there's some subtleties here that I know I'm missing. But at the same time, I wanted to be transparent because I had been tweeting out predictions for a pump up here until I discovered this, this new way of looking at price. And I think this is very complementary to what's going on in time trades, because time trades works at a daily level. whereas these are doing a very good job at capturing medium-term trends. So that complements the daily level information we get at time trades. So what of this that we're looking at is in time trades right now? So over the last couple of days, I've added the information that you see in the chart. Well, some of it, not all of it. And it has improved accuracy. Well, the metric that I go by is something called fitness. And that's how well it fits price. So we have seen confirmations of the data that you see here having a positive influence on the forecast accuracy that's being generated by the machine learning. So that's good. That's kind of confirming what our eyes are seeing. So let's take a look at stocks with this as well. So I'm going to switch over to ES. I've also manually put this information into the S&P 500 future stock. Eventually, I want the drawing of these lines and boxes to be fully automated so that it's really, really easy to do. Right now, I'm just sort of manually putting them in based on dates. And to be honest, the S&P 500s behave even better than Bitcoin. Look at the midline and how it identifies changes in trend. So the last 3 midlines have tagged major changes in trend, like to the day. Whoops, 4. So look at that. Of course, it tags a COVID low. That's my favorite anchor point to test whether these things are real or not. So some very, very useful information here. And we can see just the last few weeks of pump heading into the end of this green box cycle has been consistent with the prior green box and the one before that and the one before that. So green box really seems to be what's driving the trend here. Now, if we look ahead, this is where it gets really interesting. You'll notice the midline. Sometimes it indicates tops, sometimes it indicates bottoms. And we've got a midline out here in February 15th, okay? So that is likely going to be a change in trend. I can't tell from this if it's going to be a top or a bottom. I have other reasons to believe that it's going to be a bottom, but who knows in this market, right? So we're going to keep watching, the time trades forecasts and watch that closely to see how this forecast evolves for February and get positioned for that. So we can see basically there's a lot of different paths that price can take, but almost always the midline indicates a major change in trend. Okay. So here we go up and then down into the midline. Here we go straight up into the midline. Here we go up, down into the midline. But things tend to get really consistent in the latter part of the green box, which is really interesting. And also, like Bitcoin, in the purple boxes, we see areas of kind of sideways chop and consolidation, right? But unlike Bitcoin, there's no pattern of big dumps happening after that warning blue line. So I don't see any of that. So we might just be entering a pattern of sideways chop and consolidation here in this upcoming purple box that's about to get started. Okay, so let's do a quick review of what we're seeing on time trades right now. What I'm looking at most closely is the Qs. So if we look at the Qs, we still have this massive pivot low that's parked out here in late November. We definitely would benefit from correction in price. Price has gone up nonstop ever since the end of Mercury retrograde. As I tend to do, I flip bearish too early on that, but I think with the help of these green boxes, I'll solve that problem with the next cycle. But yeah, I still am looking for a decrease in price heading into the next 3 weeks into the end of the month, especially given how inflated prices are right now from most technical measures. Okay, so that's the cues. We can also take a look at Bitcoin within the time trades forecast. And what we're seeing here is, again, we've got an indication of a down day. So this is a 1 standard deviation down day that's been sitting out here on November 8th. And that also coincides with that warning blue line. So I think it's important to be cautious here in Bitcoin. And we can see this cluster of pivot lows out here between December 6th and December 11th. And, you know, the forecast isn't super bullish right now, but let's go back to TradingView and see what is forecast to happen around December 6th to December 11th. Well, it looks like that is roughly in that period after the end of the purple line, purple box, which is consolidation phase, and just before the start of the new pump zone. I won't guarantee that it's a pump, but this is the area of potential pump that starts December 13th. Okay, so this visual representation of those cycles are kind of captured with a little bit more granular detail here in time trades, and we start to see some days of potential pump starting in mid-December. So some real interesting confluence between these analysis techniques, and I hope this can help us all make a little bit of money over the next couple of weeks trading. So with that, I'm going to sign off and wish you all good luck. Thank you.